Madam Chair, thank you very much, as ever, for your updates. I've just got two questions, if you don't mind. You mentioned that you met with Hilary Benn. He is acknowledged as being a fervent Remainer. And you also met with the head of Open Britain, or somebody from Open Britain, which is also a fervent Remainer campaign group. Can you just comment whether you ever get the opportunity or whether your remit allows you to meet with the heads of equivalent Leave campaigns? That's my first question, please. And the second one is a reflection on how the press and the media in the United Kingdom are presenting a position, and it would be helpful if you could give a response on this. The position that is being given in the UK press and media is that a transition period is being completely blocked by the European Union. And I go back to this comment about a ticking clock. The ticking clock being that on March the 31st, 2019, 11 p.m. in the evening, it's all over and done with, and there will be no transition period. Can you comment at all whether you think that either that position is inaccurate and or whether the EU actually has got more manoeuvrability to accept and discuss a transition period? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, Hilary Benn, whose Labour happens to be, he was re-elected after the election, the chair of this exit of the committee of the House of Commons. But with him, I think majority was from Tory party. So there were also there was one person from Wales, Welsh party, who's and there was, I think, majority from Tory. So the discussion was very sort of, the group was very diversified. Also discussion, you could feel different temperature and different attitudes, of course. So that's the first thing. Secondly, I have not refused to meet with anybody that wanted to talk, coming from the islands, whichever island, to talk on Brexit, or from think tanks, from also the people coming from Treasury, or those who are also negotiating, and of course all politicians who come and want to speak. So I think that brings different people, and I think James Brokenshire, he voted to leave, I guess. So not all of them say. I had, I think, twice talked to Bill Cash, so he's very much leave. So it's, I think I have experience with talking to everybody. On the transition, if it's blocked, you know, there is this condition which was already in the guidelines, I think, in the negotiating directives, that you need this sufficient progress to move from phase 1 to phase 2, and the phase 1 was not taken in its entirety as a precondition, but 3 issues were selected from the phase 1 of the negotiations, which is citizens, which is Ireland, and in short saying this way, and the financial settlement, which we call financial settlement. So those issues, and in all of them, this sufficient progress must be reached to move further to the second phase, which would be the transition and the future. And on transition, I think the EU side has been also very clear from the very beginning that practically to invent something completely new for the transition and to have a negotiation that would be as complex as the future arrangement, that there's no time for that, because the transition has to start on the 30th of March or the end of the 29th of March. So the only thing that can be done is basically the prolongation or extension of the existing acquis, and I think that's also largely understood and shared, that there's no chance for a bespoke agreement for transition. And there is, of course, some link with the future, because you have to know more or less the landing zone to organize the process of transition. But I've never had this feeling that especially transition is somehow blocked by anybody on the EU side. Each time we meet with Michel Barnier, I think we hear from him always that there is this sort of understanding also on the EU side that there is not much time and rather pressure from the EU side, but especially on some of the issues, especially on the financial settlement. My impression is that nothing has changed between the 5th and 6th round, so there's no progress on the UK side, and it's not about money really, about figures. It is all the time about reaching such an agreement between the two sides that would make EU convinced that there is a commitment on the UK side that thinks that obligations will be respected. So that's actually what I understand is the condition for a sufficient progress on financial settlement. So let's hope that things will move still before the end of November. That would allow then the European Council to make this decision. The good thing is probably on the EU side that the Council has already, while saying there is no progress, has also recommended all the bodies which are doing the preparation to work on the EU side on preparing this future negotiations. So I think the time is not wasted on the EU side.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.